What's up, everybody? Welcome to Hammerdown Motorsports. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. It is a Saturday today, and it was very sunny and nice, and now it is, well, we just got a break in the rain. So I figured we would get into this a little bit with our Super Duty today. We do have some wonderful new accessories from Rough Country for our bed, so let's see what we got. Well, here we go again. Okay, I'm gonna get it right this time. These are Canadian geese. They're not ducks. But yeah, they wanted to be back in the video, so there they are. And right here, we have a brand new bed mat for our truck. Now, I do have the Ford spray and bed liner. Some of you may or may not have this, and we do have the prep for our fifth wheel and all that kind of stuff, gooseneck. I do not have a gooseneck, and I do not have a fifth wheel currently, so this is gonna work out perfectly. And if we ever do put a hitch in or whatever, I can just pull this out when I'm using my trailer, and then when I'm not, I can put it back in. This is gonna give you a lot of protection for your bed. If you wanna throw stuff in there or whatever, it's not gonna dent as easily. I mean, the aluminum beds, I know Chevy was putting out some propaganda that they're not as strong as a steel bed, but I'm not entirely sure. I don't think I'm gonna be trying what they did, but either way, this is gonna give you some protection. This thing is massive. I mean, it's obviously the size of your bed, but it is also very thick. We're gonna get out of the plastic here, and you can hear that. You know how heavy this thing must be, because it definitely has some weight to it. So let's get this thing unwrapped and roll it out in the bed, give you guys a closer look. Plastic off. Then we get the shrink wrap. All right. So there it is, everybody. This is just kind of our first install here of this bed mat, but you can see it has a nice Rough Country logo on the bottom. We have Rough Country logo in the middle, and then we have this nice design here as well. Give you some traction inside here. And also, if you're walking around your bed, especially in the painted beds, if you have this in there, you're not gonna slide around as much, especially if it's wet. This is another good thing about having a bed mat. Also, if you do make a mess of this thing, you can just roll it up, roll it out of your truck, pressure wash it, not worry about spraying that stuff around. Anybody who's washed the bed of their truck knows that a lot of times there's like a vortex of all kinds of debris, and it's kind of hard to get all that out of the bed without it going all over the truck and stuff like that. So having the bed mat would definitely be a little bit easier for cleanup as well. And speaking of keeping your bed clean, I'm a very big believer of a tonneau cover because, well, having an open bed is just an invitation for everything to collect in the back, and they are kind of hard to clean. And if you have pine needles like we do, they collect in there and they're real pain to get out. So I already went with the air gun and went through and got as many of those as I could get out of the bed, because I was washing the trucks and the wind was blowing and it was basically raining pine needles all over the truck. And I've got a car show tomorrow, so I've been trying to get this thing clean all day, and now finally I think we've sort of gotten there. But we do have a Rough Country tonneau cover for this truck as well. I really liked it for security, for highway use, all that kind of thing. It's just so much better to have that bed covered. Then you can put stuff in there. You don't have to worry about rain and all that kind of thing and people stealing stuff out of the back. So we do have one from Rough Country as well. So let's get our tonneau cover out and see what we got. So over here we have our box for our tonneau cover, and as you can see, made in the USA. We're not gonna be waiting for this on a freighter somewhere, so all good. Let's open this thing up and see what we got inside. So in the box, pretty straightforward. You got your tonneau cover assembly right here, and then we have our rails in this cardboard, and then we have this bag right here with our instructions and all our small pieces. So let's get all this taken out and we can see what we got to do to install it on the truck. All right, so first thing in our instructions, you can see right here, it has our clamps, which are right here, which are going to put our rails onto the bed of the truck. And then you can see we have our drain tubes here. We have some weather stripping as well. And then we have these guys, which I haven't really looked into what they're going to be yet. But all in all, what we got to do right now is just get these rails installed on the truck and we can move on to the next step. All right, so here you can see our clamps are installed on our rails. One thing you do want to remember is make sure that on the bottom here, if you guys can see that, you're in the bottom groove on the back side of the clamp. And then you want to tighten that down with your 1/2-inch wrench or socket or whatever. Just, you don't want to over tighten them. They said about 120 inch-pounds is good, but you don't have to use a torque wrench if you don't want to. Just kind of within reason, and double check these after a little while just to make sure that nothing came loose. And if you can see up there in the front, we do have our drain tubes going in those plugs in the front of the bed. I just took a decent sized drill bit, drilled a hole in there, and just put the drain tube through there. So when water sits on that rail, it's gonna drain down to the ground and not into your bed. So now we're gonna grab our tonneau cover assembly. You can see by the picture, we're just gonna set it up there in the rails in the front. And you can see over here too, this is our bulkhead. You wanna make sure that that cover, the front flap is over the top, not the cover actually sitting on top of the bulkhead. So everything seals nicely, and the buckles are supposed to be towards the front. Well, everybody, as you can see, the rain has somewhat subsided, but it did definitely come back. So some of this I did not get exactly with our tin roof the way I would have wanted. But either way, we're gonna go over kind of the easy kind of just rundown of what it takes to put this all together. Where we left off, I was just kind of setting this into place. And as you saw in the instructions right here, this is the edge right here, and then this is the flap. You want to have the flap over the bulkhead. You want to have this part clear, so when you tighten down those little brackets inside, there's brackets that slide in. We'll go in there in a minute. I'll show you what I mean. And what you want to do is just kind of set this in place so you obviously have clearance for this to get sucked down a little bit inside the bulkhead. You can kind of, if you put your finger in there, you can feel that the actual cover itself goes down past the bulkhead, and then this is the flap. We did not use the weather stripping right here because, well, I mean, it just doesn't stick well to stuff with box liner, from my opinion, but it's up to you. If you want to use that, you can. Imagine that strip just goes in there and just gives you a little bit more sealing, but when rain and stuff's coming off the cab and whatever, I'm not super concerned with what's going in there. I don't keep anything that can't get a little bit of wet on it in here for the most part, so it's not really a thing that I'm too concerned about. But I mean, if it is a problem, there's a lot of wetness getting into the bed, maybe we'll revisit that another time. But for me, I left that out. But you can see the fit and finish here. This thing is really nice. I did have to adjust my rails. I had them a little bit higher than what I would have liked, so I just loosened them, put them down a little bit, and got what the product we got here right now. You can see everything fits the bed really nicely. There is a little bit of the weather stripping that has to relax just from shipping. It was all folded up, so everything's just kind of got to get back into its place. A little bit of dust here, but first wash, that's going to be gone. But you can see the finish on this thing. Very, very nice. This is a hard cover, so you don't have anything like I do over on the Rebel, which is just basically a soft cover that somebody could take a knife and cut open. This one, nice and secure, nice and solid. Everything is very nicely fitting. We got our Rough Country logo right there. Now we'll open our tailgate. See, nothing is rubbing on it either. It's another thing you want to do when you are adjusting your rails to make sure that everything is good. Also, we do have our cable right here. So we're going to do this one-handed. We're just going to pull on our cable, releases, and then it can go over. First stage is open, but this is still locked. We have another cable right here. I'm going to grab that, flip this guy over, and then this is our third stage, and this is as far as it goes because our little brackets in here are holding our third piece that's closest to the cab in place. Now what you want to do when you're adjusting this, you want to keep there's little adjustment knobs in here. You want to keep them all loose. You just kind of want to put it in place. And then you want to run it, make sure it clicks into the rails properly and locks in all the positions before you tighten it down, just to make sure everything is nice and in place. And then over here, you can see we have our buckles. So if you want to go down the road with this and not have the wind blow it open, you're good to go. You have one over here and one on the other side, and there's an adjustment here if you want to make this a little bit tighter or whatever. But yeah, that is basically what the operation of it is. Pretty simple stuff. And then when you're not using your buckle, you can just flip it upside down. It's the best way it fitted for me. Slide that in there, and then everything is not flopping around in the breeze. You want to close it back up one-handedly again. That, we're locked in on this side. Let's make sure we're locked in over here, which we should be. Our adjustments are correct. Yes, we're nice and locked down. And then, last stage, just like that, locked in place. Locked in place. Then you know everything's adjusted right. If you're having one side not lock in right, you might have a little bit off or something like that. You might have to do a little bit more adjustments, but the end product, I got it like this, and I'm very, very happy with it. So you can close your tailgate. Everything is exactly where you want it to be, and I think it looks absolutely awesome on this truck. So now, as promised, we're gonna crawl inside there and I'll show you those adjustments just so we have a visual on that. We have our old man step right here, which I absolutely love. 40 is definitely around the corner, and getting in the truck is pretty effortless with that. So one stage, two stage, And now we're gonna go down below. And then you can see right here, these are the knobs I was talking about. There are 4 of them, 2 on each side. There's a little bracket that kind of goes into the rail. And then it's just a carriage bolt on the top. Then what you want to do after it's all centered up, you just want to tighten these down by hand. And also, I mean, a lot of guys with the trifolds, they don't like that it takes up this much of the bed when it's in its fully retracted position. But the easy part about this is if you want to take this off, all you got to do is unscrew these 4 and then pull the entire tonneau cover off, and you can leave the rails in place while you're towing your trailer, and you're good to go as far as that is, and you can just install it again in minutes. Here is a better look at our drain tubes. You can see how it's all nicely going into that little plug there on the bottom of the bed. All looks factory. You can't even notice it's there unless you're looking for it. All right, everybody, so very simple. I mean, the instructions is only a few pages. It's very easy to do. I did this all by myself. I mean, you got to fight a little bit sometimes with these clamps just to get them in the right position. But once you get the hang of them, it's pretty easy. And I'm just going to go and check, make sure everything is nice and tight one more time before I'm all said and done, now that everything is adjusted the way I want it. But other than that, I mean, everything was pretty seamless with putting this all together. Everything clamps on. There's no drilling, none of that kind of stuff. You want to take this off, put it on another truck if you trade your other truck in or whatever. Very, very easy to do. You could have this thing off in minutes. So one more thing about the bed mat, you can see that it's starting to lay down a little bit flatter now. Even in the front, before it was kind of had a big hump there, but now it's pretty much laying flat. In a couple of days, this little bit of a bump is going to be completely gone, and everything should be laying nice and flat. But just for reference, this is a piece of a mud flat from a semi-truck. And you can see it's about that thick. You know, it's a pretty substantial piece of rubber. This mat over here, you can see right here, it's probably, I would say, let's lay it on top here, just to be real full disclosure with you guys. So there you go. I'm pretty sure this bed mat's about twice as thick as a semi-truck mud flap. So if that gives you kind of any point of reference on this, it's definitely a substantial piece of rubber to put in the back of your truck. And I think it's a must-have for anybody. Even if you have a spray and bed liner, this is going to make this a whole lot nicer of a situation, especially when you have a big mess in the back of your truck. So there it is, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed our install on this rainy Saturday of our rough country tonneau cover and bed mat. We have a whole bunch of boxes at the front of the truck for other stuff that we're going to be doing to this truck, so definitely stay tuned for those videos as well. A big thanks to Rough Country for sending this stuff out. I'm very happy with the results. Everything is looking super awesome so far. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and as always, keep that hammer down. And if you made it to this point in the video, definitely drop in the comments, Rough Country. So I know you made it this far in the video, and we do have a couple little tidbits for you guys on some of the shop things. This area right here used to be full. I used to have my chop saw and my metal cutting and all that kind of stuff in this corner, but since the drain for the sink and everything is there, I think what I'm going to do is probably put a wall up here and then close this in and maybe possibly put a bathroom in here. That'd be really nice. I have to see kind of what's required as far as plumbing and all that kind of thing. But the water is going to go into this area as well. We're going to get the hot water tank and then run the lines up here so we can have hot, cold water up in the sink up above, and then I can run the drain and tie it down into there as well. So yeah, just some new developments and trying to clean this place up. Also, this thing right here, if you guys have ever seen it in the background, this is my sound wall that I built years ago, long before YouTube, and it was basically because I had some stereo equipment from my old truck. I used to have this big lifted truck in Canada, and I had some extra subs and whatever, and then it turned into this, and it was supposed to be just, well, funny story, we used to live by a campground, and people that, I don't know if you guys camp or whatever, if you know what campgrounds can be like, people go to the campground and act like animals because it's not where they live and they don't care. They're going to be gone by the end of the weekend, and they don't care if they make the neighbors mad. So I lived by one, and there was people like that all summer long. So they would crank their music, and it was usually garbage music. So if they wanted to battle, we had this to battle with. I do not have that problem anymore, and I do have this big JBL speaker, which is actually really good. It's Bluetooth and everything like that. So it's modern, and this is what I use for the shop stereo. And this big monstrosity here is just, it's just so big, and it requires a car battery, and it drains batteries pretty quickly. It's very powerful, it's very loud, but I think I might be stripping it down and just taking it apart because I don't think I really need it anymore, but definitely was a fun thing while it lasted.